My name is Lori Power. My company is MP Benefits, and I'm a group benefit consultant. Is part of my service to clients is to be consistently responsive. That consistent responsiveness has eventually led me to meet Jennifer, because Jennifer is an outstanding business coach and author, public presenter, speaker, somebody who is featured everywhere. Now, before I started this journey, and if somebody had said, what are your possibilities? What are you looking forward to in 2020 or during the pandemic? I would never have said that I have the possibility to meet more people than I have ever met previously in my 23 years of business, but I have. And who would have thought that was a possibility? So take us through, Jennifer, what you do, how you do it, how you get started, and then we will move into possibilities and celebrating those small wins.
Sure. So my name is Jennifer Jimbere. I'm a business coach, and I call myself your partner in prosperity. And so for each of us, prosperity looks different. And so what I do is partner with business leaders to improve their productivity and profitability. So we look at what's happening in their business and what is needed to take it to the next level. So I normally work with small to medium-sized businesses that want to get to the $1 million mark and beyond. So there's a lot of happy clients, and I'm proud to be a trusted confidant to support people to reach that next level. It's not always easy being out here kind of on our own and trying to think that we're making the right decision. So having someone to kind of bounce that idea off and to clarify the plan before taking action is something that I love doing.
And it shows. To give you a for instance on how it shows and how it's recognized, she has received the RBC Canadian Women Entrepreneur Award presented by Women of Influence last year. So unprecedented success in an unprecedented year. Take us through some of the other awards and features, which is that unique differential that is being recognized in the industry.
So I would say one of the things that's a differentiator is I'm currently working on my 14th degree and certificate. So I'm doing a micro master's in leadership. So I'm always kind of adding to my toolkit to be of best support. So the vast education that I have is just the beginning. It's the decades building context to be able to support in the moment, right? So, you know, pulling from change management, pulling from negotiation, pulling from coaching or positive psychology. So I would say that's, you know, for most of my clients are highly educated and they value that I really always have a professional development plan in place, and I'm always trying to hone the skills to be able to support and share what I learn along the way.
So that's not where you started being in the coaching. You didn't set out from university and go, today I'm going to be a coach. This all started as a result of working at BMO. Take me through how your evolution, because if we understand your evolution, we can understand the process that you went through and how you encourage people through that process.
Yeah, so I was a branch manager at BMO, and they looked at all the leaders and said, we want you to coach. And we were like, well, that's great, but we don't know what the heck you're talking about. So I went out and got certified and, you know, used the learning with my team in practice and saw the difference that it made in performance. And then from there, I went and said, okay, well, human resources management certificate would be great. And then from there, it was extended disc, change management, etc. So I think the journey is always like, what is needed to really support positive change for people. And so I'm just kind of adding that into the toolkit as I continue in the journey myself. I really think, you know, for many of us, having our own professional development plan is critical for growth and for closing the gap on knowledge that we want to acquire.
I think as well, it keeps us moving forward, doesn't it? You know, if we are always focused on that infinite game instead of the finite game, knowing that it's always going to improve and get better.
So when you ask someone a question that they're not considering, that's when they see the value of coaching and partnering with someone who can shine a light on something that they might not be looking at, or a way of looking at something that they're not currently perceiving or noticing. So I think my coaching mantra is, I believe people are creative, capable, wise, and good. And so that's kind of the interaction and energy that I bring to conversation with people. And so that kind of lets us explore what's possible.
Tracy wants to know, do you work with specific industries or professions, or is it a wide scope of people who are looking to improve what they do within their field?
Yeah, so I would say my background is mainly financial services. So I was in, banking, Edward Jones, etc. But I am able to support all industries. Who I really like working with and yet generally attract are highly educated, growth-minded action takers. So it's not industry specific. It's, professionals who take their success seriously.
We talked about before about the challenges being consistent. What you recognize as that when you're asking or having a conversation with your client, that one thing. Take us through that process.
I like to say consistency pays dividends. It's not always about the perfect strategy. It's about, having a plan, knowing what your wildly important goal is, acting on a few key lead measures, having a scorecard for your business to know if you're winning or not, and having a cadence of accountability. So what that looks like for each business can be different. If you're in a business partnership, do you have the opportunity to have cadence discussions and weekly huddles so that you can ask these 3 questions, which is, what did you say you were going to do? What did you do? And what are you going to do next? Having that cadence of accountability helps create the consistency. And having someone check in to explore, what is the reason we're looking to change course here? Help me understand. Because when we change course too quickly, as we all know, you could have been, 5 feet, 10 feet, or 3 feet from gold. So, consistency pays dividends.
In the last year, what have you seen people search for in their possibilities? What's the main focus in this last year from your client base on moving forward?
Revenue.
Revenue, that's it.
That's it. It's, what can I do differently? How can I plan this pivot? I have this, I'll give you an example. Someone who used to sell primarily to gyms, most of her house is filled with nutritional supplements and protein supplements. And now the gyms are closed. So what does she do? She's got $10,000 to $15,000 worth of product sitting in her house. Okay, we've already put that money out to get the product in. Now, what are we going to do? Well, so over a quick Java with Jen with me, we brainstormed a pop-up shop from her home. And within 2 weeks, she had $7,500 in revenue that she wouldn't have otherwise had. So I think it's about, everybody's possibility is different. And I would say the prime focus is revenue. Like, what else is possible? Or is there a different stream of income? Or how do I recover the income that I used to generate?
It strikes me, though, that the revenue may be the underlying current, but at the end of the day, people need somebody to bounce that idea off of. They need somebody who's not afraid to ask or share and be able to engage for that positive growth. Tracy wants to know, do you work with companies for a specific timeline, or do you do mostly coaching seminars? How does it typically work when somebody starts that engagement process with you?
Yeah, so I normally always start with a Java with Jen, because that allows us to kind of have you experience the support and the level of expertise I'm bringing for us to understand, do we work really well together? And then we either go into 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, and I call it the prosperity program. And basically that is everything in my toolkit is yours and available as we partner together to that next level for your business growth.
Very good. A nice, easy start. Take me through when you started writing the first book. So you've now published 3 books. Take me through. I want to go through the messaging and how the messaging has grown throughout the 3 books. So can you take me through the first one?
Sure. Yeah. The first series is called Dream Boldly, I Dare You. And so I was connected to the person who had this initial idea to create the series. And we were connected on Facebook, and she invited a bunch of people in who were out here kind of doing their thing. And inside of this group, she kind of invited us into these activities. And so that was her way to kind of sift through who was going to, you know, do the work and share their stories and write well. And Dream Boldly, I Dare You is a collection of stories where we invite people to remember what was that dream, unlock, you know, a list of those, and then start taking action towards it. So think bigger than what you're currently thinking. So the process for that book was we unlocked 100 dreams in 10 days. And then we shared those and, you know, wrote little snippets, and then she invited people in accordingly to the chapters. So it's a collection of stories, and I'm a co-author in that. And I like to say what you think is possible is just the beginning, because when I was doing that, I was taking a course in positive psychology through UC Berkeley. And so the books that I was reading in positive psychology were obviously like on the bestseller list in certain categories, you know, happiness and etc. And so our book came out, and within 48 hours, we hit international bestselling in 6 categories. And the book is like in line with some of the books I'm reading in positive psychology. I was like, my brain was blown. So, you know, we did that first book. And then, you know, a year later, we wrote the second. You were invited in to write a second chapter. And, you know, the first one I shared where belief in yourself and bold moves meet. And it was about leaving corporate after 17 years, leaving a very healthy salary to sell our house in Oakville and go launch my business and buy out in Woodstock, so a smaller community, to make it happen. And then the second book, again, it was based on the feedback, was like, oh, I never would have thought what came up for me came up. So we're like, okay, let's try this again. So the person who put the book together, her name is Carrie Stepp, created an online program. She works at Amazon, and she's like a world-renowned course creator. So inside of that book, it's like manifest miracles on demand. So there's a process. Once you've unlocked the dream, how do you take that dream and then start taking actions toward it? So in the second book, I write about basically unleash your possibilities. And I take people through in the story the 6 categories and areas of focus in their life that I help people with.
And what are those 6 categories?
So, you know, we're looking at professional, emotional, relationships, spiritual, health, and financial.
What are the ahas when people are working through those? And I would imagine that somebody who may come to you and say, you know, this is what I want to focus on. But when you start to go through all of those 6 categories, there must be some ahas that, oh, I didn't think that mattered as much as it does, or how it interweaves with everything else they have going on. What's that continuous surprise that you get?
So I loved the way that you kind of went like this, because it's about creating a ball that moves smoothly. So when we have, if you picture a ball and you're ranking the different 6 categories, if you were to say, in financial, I'm an 8, in spiritual, I'm a 3, in my relationships, I'm a 5, you can recognize that as you create those categories, the ball doesn't roll very well, right? So we want to see what can we do to balance out all of those areas so that we increase the gap, like we close the gap on the areas that you want to focus on. And I would say there is no trend to that. I think each person's journey is unique, and you know, what they think is important sometimes isn't always what's important. And that's why I think bringing positive psychology into my work is really important when I'm working with business leaders, because I don't think hustle is required for success.
No, and positivity is a must. It's an absolute must. Before I start asking you questions about the new book, Possibilities, I want to know, outside the dream that you had and made a reality, when you were going through that process, especially in book 1, what is the one thing, one story outside of your own, when you look back on it, that you constantly go, you know what, that person had that dream and amazingly made it happen?
Oh my God, there's so many.
And that's great.
I would say there was someone going through doing their PhD, and they were working to become a psychotherapist, and through a personal life experience, changed their whole direction of their business and started working specifically with PTSD in the first responder community based on a personal experience. And it was through kind of the uncover, this is what I should do versus this is what I want to do, and how that can kind of change the path for you.
Very nice. That is a great story. That is.
Yeah.
What led you into doing the most current book that has just been released? Was it early this month or January?
I think it was New Year's Eve I released it.
Fantastic. Yeah. Tell me the process of getting started on that book. What was the impetus, the spirit behind what you wanted to achieve?
Yeah, so the second book hit international bestselling in 24 hours instead of 48. So I had 2 physical books that I could, bring to speaking engagements and have available for purchase. What I wanted was a practical guide, not story-based, but experience-based on strategies that I use and strategies my clients across North America use. So it's 10 chapters with marketing and business growth strategies that are there for people to kind of consider and implement into their own business. So what I wanted was, not a physical book. I wanted an ebook available right from my site that would allow people to take action right away on their own, so that they could see what difference it would make when they implemented those strategies. So I would say, I think it was just the understanding and awareness of all of the accumulated knowledge, and how could I bucket those into 10 chapters and share it so that people could benefit.
And how's it doing so far, Tommy?
Really good. Yeah, it's really nice to get a message from someone who said, oh, I'm trying this and it's working, or oh, I just grabbed your book, I'm excited, or whatever that looks like. It's pretty neat to be able to reach as far as it is going, and to see and hear kind of the response of, I did this and I changed this because of that, and here's how it's working. That, that's pretty satisfying.
I as an entrepreneur and business owner, it's one thing to envision, have that dream, but there is such pleasure in the implementation. There is such pleasure in putting the planning and possibilities, to overuse that word, into action. Jason, you've had your own vision and dreams and changes. How are you relating to our discussion here today, especially based on the opportunity that you have just said that has come to you to be helping people in that sales pipeline?
Yeah, and I love what you're saying about being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And for me, I kind of think of myself as an intrapreneur, right? Like I'm an employee of Output, but I put the hat on, like I'm part of this, and I'm there's a big responsibility to help this get to where the owners and the founders see this going. And for me, I like I said, talking about being part of the sales facilitation workshop next week is really exciting. Like, I love doing those kinds of things. I'm someone that's constantly trying to learn and grow every day. And so reflecting back on my growth, similar to like what Jennifer's saying, with you've went and got all these certificates and added these things to your repertoire, and you're sharing that with your clients. And I think we want to share a lot of these things with our clients. We want to share with other people in the business community. We have a passion to help companies do things better. The main thing is focusing on their technology tools, but if I can share some of my insight into my, almost 20 years doing sales, like that's really exciting too.
It's that mutual mentorship that I am seeing emerge over the last 12 months. I don't find there's so much of the proprietary, I'm just going to hold it tight, but there's more of that, I'm going to share what I know to the general community so that we can all grow together. Are you seeing that too, Jennifer?
Yeah, and I would say it's an important part of an effective attraction marketing strategy, right? We want to be able to have people come to us based on the knowledge that we share. And, so for your business, Jason, what are 3 adjectives that the company is trying to portray through their attraction marketing strategies? When all of you know those 3 words, you can base your content and the information and knowledge that you share based on that, so that you can prime people's thinking to think of you when they have the need.
I have my 3 words, and then Jason, you can go. Mine is intentional, strategic, and consistent. That's it. Those
Awesome.
are my 3 words. What are yours, Jason?
He's like, I don't know. I could see his face.
Yeah, we haven't done this exercise. I was just writing this down because this is great. I think
Yeah.
we need to do that, right? So, we don't have the 3 words. Like, I know our mission is to obviously help clients, improve efficiency, scale up, whatever, through technology. But I think this is a great exercise that we need to take back, because we need to have these words, right? I love what you said there, Lori.
They make it, Jennifer, you're so right. Like when I did that exercise and narrowed down and took it from being these long, protracted paragraphs and took it down to 3 essential words, honestly, it changed everything. It changed the way I approached my marketing. It changed the way I approach people in conversation. Tracy has said, without mentors, she wouldn't be in business as long as she has and been as successful as she is.
So I'll give you an example, Jason. A practical example for me is I want to be known as knowledgeable. So when we connect on LinkedIn, you'll see every Tuesday I share a book of the week. And yes, I read those books. I read, like, Google's going to crash. I read more than 100 a year. So every week I share a pick of the week to support my community in their business growth and professional development. So that when you think of me and you go, well, who would know that? And you'd be like, Jen's going to know that. And then you'll reach out, and that's attraction marketing. Instead of us cold pitching people, we have an opportunity to prime their thinking to go like that when they have the need that you offer. And then brainstorm, like create that list, and no answer is a bad answer. And like, if there's 25, awesome. And then sift through and ask yourselves why do we want to be known? So do a root cause on those. And then you'll start kind of eliminating some words naturally, and then get to a place where you're at 5 and vote on the 3, and then anchor those in. And so what would it look like if we were to choose innovative as one of our words? So if it was innovative, how would we portray that in a visual? What message would we put out every single week consistently on a Tuesday, for example?
Invested in this this gym fitness studio that my family developed here, and they picked 3 words that were vitality, aliveness, and well-being, right? Like that's the focus, and everything is around that. When members are welcomed in and are brought on board, and when they come to a session every week, when it's open, or even just what they're doing online and some of the information in social media and whatnot, it's all about that, right? It's not just about coming in and sweating and getting ripped or whatever. It's about it's those 3 things, right? Which is, I never really thought about why, but that makes a lot of sense.
And so there's a psychology to colors in marketing. So what colors speak to vitality? Are those in the graphics?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think neon green and black are the colors. I don't know if that.
Because when I go through this exercise with clients, then we kind of decide on the colors and then create the graphics and keep those graphics consistent. There's one thing that a lot of people don't do effectively, and that is always changing the look and feel of their graphics. And it doesn't do them any good, because what we want is to stop the scroll. Your people who want to hear from you will stop when they recognize that it's you on the phone, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever. And so when we switch that feel up constantly, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice. So anchoring in few key graphics and using those over and over and over again trains people to stop the scroll and listen to you.
Right. Awesome.
So there is, I have a handful, there's 5 clients that I work with in terms of their social media management too, just because attraction marketing has worked so well for me, and LinkedIn is a gold mine. Like I've built a course for businesses, LinkedIn for Business Growth, to help people understand how to leverage LinkedIn for their business growth, because, it's a platform where people go with business in mind. It's very different human behavior than it is on Facebook and Instagram.
Tell me about the Corporate Livewire platform.
So a global platform based out of the UK, and what they do is source and search for consultants and coaches across the globe. And they look to see who is upholding professional standards, who has, you know, positive client reviews. And based on their process, they narrow it down, and then their committee that is issuing the awards kind of looks at all of those applications and decides who is kind of worthy of the awards that that they give out.
And the nomination, have they announced the winners?
So for 2020, I was the winner for Ontario for Productivity and Profitability Consultant of the Year.
Congratulations. That is a fantastic accomplishment.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for coming in today. I really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to connect on LinkedIn and to follow Jennifer. I'm grateful that you took the time. I hope that I'll see you again.